Every runner wants to get faster, but almost no one can agree how. One coach says more miles, another coach says intervals, another coach says drop the cardio and lift. The truth is, they're all partly right, because there isn't only one way to get faster. There are several, if you understand the principles behind them. Today, I'm breaking down 5 of the most powerful philosophies in the world, methods that real runners use to get real results. Some are intense, some are simple, but all of them work if you apply them in the right way. Before we get started, if you're over 50 and you want to train smarter, not harder, this is the stuff that really makes a difference. I've created a free online webinar for runners just like you. It breaks down our smarter training system, shows you how to structure weeks, balance your intensity, and recover better. If you've been frustrated or stuck at the same pace, this might unlock your next breakthrough. Click on the link below or scan the QR code on screen now. Right, now let's get into one that has taken the running world by storm, and that's because it works. It's based on tight lactate control, and it's called the Norwegian method. Instead of smashing one huge session a week, Norwegian athletes run just below their red line twice a day. Not all out, not jogging, just that precise controlled discomfort zone. But why does it work? Because your lactate threshold, the point where fatigue starts to build rapidly, is the key to holding paces longer. They're not training at threshold to punish themselves, they're training there to adapt their metabolism so they can clear lactate faster and delay fatigue. Even if you're not doing 2-a-days, this method works. Try doing 2 threshold sessions a week, spaced a few days apart at 80% effort. You can use RPE, you can use heart rate, or if you fancy, you can use lactate. That'll make sure that you stay under the breaking point. The Norwegian method is best suited for very experienced runners, runners who are stuck on a plateau, runners with access to data or a coach, or runners who can commit to structure and recovery. One of the major reasons that the Norwegian method works is because of the sheer volume that it allows them to train at. So you do have to be a little bit careful. What they do with those threshold sessions, and particularly the threshold intervals, is they are very high volume. In other words, they do loads of repetitions. So although the session itself doesn't start out that hard, by the time you get to the end of the session, you can feel that you've actually done a monster session. And so there has to be a very tight control of lactate to make sure that every session is done in precisely the right place, because their easier runs are also based on their lactate threshold, and they measure those at every single session. So it does actually require you to be very precise to pull this off, and there is a strong emphasis on recovery so that you can allow for the volume that you need to do if you follow the Norwegian method. Most runners run too hard on easy days and not hard enough on hard days. That's where polarized training flips the script. You do 80% of your training easy, conversational pace, really relaxed, and 20% of your running is hard, not tempo, not moderate, really, really hard. This structure gives you the best of both worlds. The volume builds your aerobic engine, the intensity sharpens your speed, improves coordination and mental toughness. And because you're not stuck in the middle zone, recovery is better. So what does a typical week look like? You'll do 1 to 3 easy runs in a week, 1 very hard session, a long run, and then make sure that you have at least 1 full rest day a week. Every session has its place and a purpose. This is a method that's been used by Olympic level cyclists, runners, and rowers, and it's backed by dozens of studies. And for runners over 50, the emphasis on recovery is huge. Polarized training is great for any runner at any level, but especially for those that have plateaued from doing too much moderate level training, or anybody that's looking for sustainability without breaking down with injury. With polarized training, there are a few key considerations, and the saying, walk before you run couldn't be more apt when dealing with the polarized training. Those high intensity sessions do come with an injury risk. And so we really do want to prep your body for the work that's going to come in the future. You're going to build both intensity and volume slowly over time. And it's really important that we lay the groundwork with a bit of strength training. And that's pure strength training that you would do in a gym or with exercises that you do at home, as well as doing some hill work to prepare your body for that high intensity sessions that you're going to be doing. Once we've taken care of all of that and we've laid a foundation, then the polarized method is just a fantastic way to prevent your routines from getting boring and to make sure that you are constantly improving, and then very importantly that you can maintain the consistency that will allow you to get better over time. Right, let's keep going. Dr. Jack Daniels developed one of the most complete data-backed models in the world. He divided training into 4 different paces which cover all our physiological needs. Those paces cover aerobic base and recovery, lactate clearance, VO2 max improvement, and speed and economy. What makes it so special is this: you calculate your paces based on your current race times by using the VDOT tables. That makes it specific to you right now, and it makes it adaptable as you improve. You're not guessing your workouts. You're programming your workouts for your current ability and then scaling them as you improve. This is especially helpful if you're trying to avoid injury, and the balance across the intensities prevents you from stacking stress in one zone. Jack Daniels' methodology is best suited for athletes that love structure, data-minded athletes, and those that are returning from injury or overtraining. The key considerations for following Dr. Jack Daniels' methodology are that you really have to understand the purpose of each session. Because you'll see when you look at that app that there are a range of paces across each distance. And so you really have to understand what is the purpose of today's session, and you have to have a good feel for what the rest ratios need to be when you are delivering on those paces. And that is not easily accessible on the app. That is really where some input from a coach will go a long way to help you understand how to break those sessions down, how much rest to give yourself, how hard to push yourself. The other key thing to consider is that there's quite a broad range, in particular on the easy running part of that app. And as athletes, we are always tempted to really work down on the faster end because it makes us feel like we're improving or we're really super fit. But Dr. Jack Daniels' methodology really relies on those runs being super easy. Remember, we're working across a broad range of intensities. And so if we get the easy running wrong, it really spills into all the other runs. This methodology is really well combined with the 80-20 method, so that you make sure you do 80% of your work nice and easy and the other 20% across a range of intensities. Right, let's change it up a bit. This one isn't textbook, it's tradition. The Kenyan running model is about simplicity, rhythm, and feel. They run on hilly dirt roads, they nap, they eat simply, they push each other in groups. No GPS required. It's a high volume system, yes, but most of that volume is aerobic and intuitive. It's not dictated by data, it's dictated by how the body feels. This builds durability, community, and long-term consistency. But more than that, it allows you to reconnect with your body. It teaches you to feel pace, feel fatigue, and to feel flow, things that we lose with tech overload. Running like a Kenyan is best for those who train alone too often, those who want a feel-based rhythm, or for those that crave community and consistency. The difficulty with this method, of course, is that we've lost our ability to feel what the intensity should be. And this often means that we now tend to run a little bit too hard. The downside of running in groups is that the strong athletes typically set the pace, and the rest of us just hang on and try to do our best. So it can be quite hard to manage what intensities you should be running at. And one of the key things here is that you have to learn from trial and error what is actually easy and when is the right time to push yourself. So it is a method that takes a little bit of time, and you can make a lot of mistakes before you intuitively learn how you should be running. Method number 5 might be the slowest method, but it also may be the smartest, especially for longevity. The Maffetone method is built around one thing: low heart rate training. Typically, that is calculated with 180 minus your age to set your maximum aerobic limit. You run easy, sometimes embarrassingly slow, but then something magic happens. As you keep going, you get faster, but your heart rate stays the same. This trains your body to burn fat more efficiently, reduces stress hormones, you recover faster, you avoid inflammation, and you reduce burnout. And for runners over 50, it's a no-brainer if you want to stay energetic, consistent, and injury-free. This works especially well for athletes that are returning from injury, athletes that are burned out, or athletes that are looking for longevity and energy. The initial progress is really slow, and unless you are constantly evaluating, sometimes you can't even notice the difference. Tiny improvements add up over weeks and months, so you have to keep checking on what you're doing. And importantly with the MAF method is that there will be progress. If you are not having progress, that means that you're not quite hitting the minimum effective dose. And that means that the calculation of 180 minus heart rate probably isn't appropriate for you. We do typically find this with older athletes, athletes over 50, and I often then encourage them to use 190 minus age, and that then brings in that dose that they need, and the improvements start to go, and they are consistent. The other thing that's a little bit difficult to figure out with this method is when does the plateau arrive, and do we then need to look at one of the other methods to carry on improving? That brings me to my next point. It would be crazy to try and use all 5 methods, but understanding them gives you options so that you can blend them into your goals, your schedule, and your recovery needs. The key is to stop guessing, train with intent, back it up with recovery, and stay consistent. I've coached and studied over 1,000 runners older than 50, and there's one mistake that keeps showing up, one that wrecks speed. It's not about effort, it's not about age. It's a blind spot that sneaks into almost every training plan. In the next video, we break it down, what the mistake is, why it happens, and how to fix it permanently. Click here to watch that video now. If you're serious about improvement, this is not the one to skip.